Today, we're diving into a really uncomfortable idea, but one that affects millions of people. It's called the Paycheck Prison. You know that feeling of being trapped by the very thing that's supposed to give you security and freedom? So let's explore how this prison is actually built and maybe ask the tough question, are you living in one?
I mean, listen to that. It goes against everything we've ever been taught, right? A stable, predictable income, that's the dream. But what if that stability, that predictability, is actually the trap? The real danger isn't poverty. It's having just enough money to be comfortable, just enough to be complacent, and ultimately just enough to keep you stuck right where you are. So, what exactly is this prison? Well, it's not made of steel bars or concrete walls. It's a cage built out of our own lives. It's that feeling of being chained to your job, not because you love it, but because your entire lifestyle, your mortgage, your car payment, your Netflix subscription, your daily coffee, it all depends on that next paycheck. The bars of the cage are literally your own bills and that deep-seated pressure to look successful. Okay, Section 1, the architecture of the trap. To even think about escaping, you first have to understand the blueprints. So let's break down exactly how this thing is constructed.
At the very core of this prison is something called the just enough principle. It's a terrifyingly perfect calculation. Your employer pays you just enough to make leaving feel like a huge, scary risk, but never, ever enough for you to build a real escape fund that would give you the freedom to just walk away. It's the financial sweet spot of dependency.
So how does this principle actually play out in the real world? Well, it works through this three-part mechanism. It starts with the cold, hard math of survival, then it hooks you with something called the dopamine loop, and finally it locks you in place with the debt anchor. Let's look at each one.
Okay, get ready, because this is a tough pill to swallow. We like to believe we're paid for our unique skills, our hard work, the incredible value we bring to the table. But from a purely business perspective, your salary is often just a simple calculation. What's the cost to replace you, plus your maintenance cost? Just enough for food, housing, and transportation so you can keep showing up to work every day.
And this brings us right to the dopamine loop. You get a raise, a bonus. It feels amazing, right? That's a real dopamine hit to your brain. So what do? You celebrate. You decide you've earned a nicer car, a bigger apartment, a few more subscriptions. But here's the problem. Your baseline maintenance costs just shot up. That raise is completely gone, eaten by your new lifestyle. The prison cell didn't get bigger, it just got more comfortable, making it even harder to leave. And then comes the final lock, the debt anchor. Taking on a massive 30-year mortgage based on your current salary is the ultimate move that secures the prison door. You've just made a promise to a bank that you will keep change anymore. It's a direct threat to the roof over your head. You are, quite literally, anchored.
Okay, Section 2, the psychology of staying. The architecture of the prison is one thing, but the most effective guard is internal. Let's talk about the guard that lives inside your own head. First up, there's the hedonic treadmill. You know this feeling. You get something new, a new phone, a new TV, and for a week, it's the best thing ever. Then it just becomes normal. That's the treadmill. A raise gives you a temporary jolt of happiness, but we adapt so quickly. That new, higher income just becomes the new baseline, leaving us no happier in the long run, just with way higher expenses. And here's the thing, a lot of that spending isn't even for our own actual enjoyment. It's for what's called social signaling. We buy things to communicate our status to the people around us. Think about it. If every manager at your company drives a certain kind of car, there's this massive unspoken pressure for you to do the same, to show that you belong. You're not buying transportation, you're buying your perceived rank in the tribe. Then there's this really sneaky mental loophole our brains use called moral licensing. It's a game we play with ourselves. You work incredibly hard, right? You pull long hours, you deal with stress, you sacrifice time with your family. In your head, you're racking up these good person points. And how do you cash them in? By giving yourself permission to do something you know is probably bad, like making a huge impulsive purchase. Does that sound familiar? I mean, this is the official anthem of moral licensing. That word, deserve, that's the key. We feel entitled to a reward for all our hard work. But so often, that reward is just more spending that reinforces the prison bars, which creates this insane cycle where we have to work even harder to pay for the rewards we buy ourselves for working so hard. And finally, we have the fatigue factor. Your willpower is like a muscle, and after a long day of making tough, draining decisions at work, that muscle is exhausted. Your ability to make a rational, disciplined financial choice is at an all-time low.
And that's exactly when retail therapy, that quick, easy hit of satisfaction from online shopping, becomes almost impossible to resist. It's an easy decision when your brain is just too tired for the hard one.
So, Section 3, seeing the bars. Now that we've looked at the blueprints and we've met the guards, what's the first step out? It's simple. It's just awareness. Because you can't escape a prison if you don't even realize you're in one. So let's bring it all home and recap the 4 key takeaways. Number 1, your salary isn't a reflection of your value. It's often just your maintenance cost. 2, every lifestyle upgrade doesn't bring you freedom. It just reinforces the prison walls. 3, we spend a huge chunk of our money not for ourselves, but to signal our status to others. And 4, we use our own hard work as the perfect excuse to dig ourselves deeper into the trap. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. Now that we've walked through the architecture, the mechanisms, and the psychology of the Paycheck Prison, the most important question isn't, how do I escape Paycheck Prison? We're going to look at why so many of us feel like we're just stuck financially, and maybe, just maybe, what the real path to freedom looks like. So does this hit home for you? That feeling that you're just running a race you can't win? You work hard, you get that tiny raise, but somehow you never really get ahead. It's like being on a hamster wheel, right? You're running faster and faster just to stay in the exact same spot. Trust me, if that's you, you are definitely not alone. Okay, but here's a wild thought. What if that feeling isn't an accident? What if this whole financial treadmill thing is a feature, not a bug? This is the core idea we're going to unpack, that the system was, well, designed by absolute geniuses to keep you right where you are. So let's actually look at the blueprints. Let's talk about the prison's architecture. Why does the system need you and me to be financially dependent? And this is maybe the most important thing to get right off the bat. If you're struggling, it is not a personal failure. It's a feature of the system. I really want you to let that sink in. It's not you. So now let's pull back the curtain and look at the 3 main bars on this cell that are designed to hold you back. Okay, bar number 1, the education trap. I mean, think about it. What does school really teach us? It teaches us how to be a great employee, how to show up on time, follow the rules, and trade our time for money. But what doesn't it teach? It doesn't teach us how to be an owner, how to buy assets, how to make our money work for us. Those classes? Yeah, they're just not on the curriculum. And then there's bar number 2, the tax inefficiency trap. This one's a killer. As an employee, you get taxed on what you earn, right? The money is gone before it even hits your bank account. But a business owner, they get taxed on what's left over after they've paid all their expenses. It's a completely different game, and it's set up so that your salary is, by far, the worst way to build wealth from a tax perspective. And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? This is bar number 3. The finish line is literally moving faster than you are. Look at that. Your salary might creep up, 3% a year if you're lucky? But the assets that actually build wealth, stocks, real estate, they're growing at 10% or more. You can't win this race. It's like you're jogging on a treadmill and the actual finish line is on a high-speed train pulling away from you. Just working harder won't close that gap. Okay, so that's the prison. I know it sounds a little bleak, but here's the good news. Once you see the bars, you can start planning your escape. And that's what we're doing now. We're talking about the escape plan. And the secret isn't working harder, it's about thinking completely differently. So here it is, the 4 steps to freedom. We're going to break these down one by one. Kill the ego, widen the investable gap, buy time, not stuff, and finally, own productive assets. All right, step 1. And this one's tough. You have to kill the ego. See, we're all programmed to look rich, but true wealth, the kind that gives you freedom, is what you don't see. It's the fancy car you didn't buy. It's the expensive watch you didn't wear. It's the money that's quietly growing in the background, not the stuff you're showing off to impress people. Which brings us perfectly to step 2, widening what's called the investable gap. This is so simple but so powerful. It's just the space between what you earn and what you spend. That gap, that is your number 1 wealth-building tool. Think about it this way. You get a $10,000 raise. The plan should be to immediately invest $9,000 of it. Don't even let it touch your main account. You have to widen that gap on purpose. Now for step 3, and this is a total game changer for your mindset. It's about buying time, not stuff. And to do that, you have to stop thinking about money as dollars and start thinking of it in terms of freedom units. A freedom unit is basically $1, but reframed. It's a piece of your own life that you've bought back from your employer. It's a unit of time that is now yours, forever. Let me show you how powerful this is.
Let's say you're about to drop $500 on a super fancy dinner. The old way of thinking is, hey, it's a nice experience. But thinking in freedom units, what is that $500? Well, maybe that's 2 full days of your life you don't have to work. 2 days of freedom you just bought back. Now, looking at it that way, is that dinner still worth 2 days of your life? See? It changes everything.
And all of this leads to the final, most important step. Step 4, choosing ownership over labor. Look, your job, where you trade your time for money, that's a finite game. You only have so many hours in a day. It has a cap. But ownership, owning assets that make money for you, that's an infinite game. Those assets work while you're sleeping, while you're on vacation. They don't get tired. This is the only way to truly break free. So, we've looked at the prison's architecture and we've laid out the escape plan, which brings us to the final choice. Because here's the thing, now that you see the bars, you can never ever unsee them. I love this quote because it's so brutally honest. The paycheck is a drug. Think about it. It feels good, right? That hit every 2 weeks. It's predictable. It feels safe. But what is it doing? It's numbing the pain of a life that's being lived on someone else's terms, building someone else's dream. So, after all this, what are we even chasing? What is true wealth? It's not about a Lambo or a mansion. It's much simpler. True wealth is having the option to say no. That's it. The power to say no to a boss, no to a client, no to a job you hate, at any time for any reason. That is real freedom. And really, it all boils down to this one simple choice. Now that you can see the cell, what do? You can keep decorating it. Use your next paycheck to buy a slightly nicer TV for the wall. Or you can take that money and buy a shovel, and you can start digging the tunnel. Look, this isn't an easy choice, and that tunnel is going to be long and dark. But the most important part is done. You now see the prison for what it is. You see the bars. So the only real question left is, what are you going to do about it?